Hey folks. Oh, gotta set the thing. Hey folks, it's your pal Mike Shea from slyflourish.com and twitter.com/slyflourish here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. This is a hour-long show that usually takes place on Sundays, and it should take place tomorrow as well. But today it is taking place on Saturday because I have a Princes of the Apocalypse game happening in about 2 hours. So I thought I would hop onto Twitch and go through the steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master to prepare for the game. If you are not familiar with the steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, if you look in the links below on Twitch or on YouTube, you can find a playlist of YouTube videos in which I describe all of the steps together and each of the steps as they take place. And there's also a link to the free copy of the chapter from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master that talks about the steps. NewbieDM says it's Saturday and I'm throwing him off. I am sorry to shake up your system, but yes, don't worry. There will be one tomorrow as well, so the system is not completely shaken up. And what else is there to say? I still am fighting off a cold. Well, not fighting it off. I lost that war. And I've had a cold all week. I had to cancel my Wednesday game because I couldn't talk. And yeah, I was kind of a mess last time. And I might be kind of a mess today. So I may be taking a quick coughing fit break. But I've got hot liquids, some French press coffee I just made, cold liquids, nice fresh bottled ice water. And so we'll see how it goes. I'm running a 4-hour game, so hopefully my voice will be well enough to run that. But occasionally I drop into coughing fits. If my face turns bright red and my eyes bug out, I'm not dying. And I'm just, got an issue. So let's see what to talk about. It has been a long time since I've run this Princes of the Apocalypse game. This is with friends of mine that live kind of far. I live in the DC area and they live up in Maryland. So for them to come here is like an hour and 10 minute drive, hour and 10 minute drive. So it's a good distance for them to come. And then the other couple that we play with at the same time, it's a little easier for them to come. So sometimes if Group A can't make it and Group B can, we play something else. We actually play tested. Is my hair okay? We play tested other things. So that all works. So what it meant. So we've been play testing something else that I'm not ready to fully talk about yet. Hey, Robert Adducci is here. Hello, Robert. Welcome. And Kaltha is here. Good morning from a train. Oh, you're on a train. What kind of crazy magical world do we live in where people can watch other people prepare for D&D online from a train or from Brazil? Diego Seibert is from Brazil. Wow. Crazy. I hope to make it worth your while. So, anyway, it's a very irregular group. And in fact, I was looking through my game notes and it doesn't look like we have played this since January. Maybe that's true. Maybe I lost the notes. But have I thought about VTTs for the game? Or is one of those that's just okay with running? It's one of those games that's ready to run irregularly, I think. Maybe one day a VTT. I don't know. I could talk to them. My wife is not a fan of playing online. We have played online in the past. We played online with some other friends of ours when they lived far away. They have since recently moved back, so we now play with them in person. So we have played online, and it's okay. But I know my wife's not a fan, and she and I play together all the time. All of our games we play together. So I tend not to play as many VTTs, but I wouldn't mind trying it again. Von Corellon says Saturday session. Yes, a Saturday session. Don't worry, there will be a Sunday session too. Anyway, so this is a game that we have not played very often. So we got to blow the old dust off the notes, which is why it's handy to write all this stuff out. So we're going to drop over to our notes here. This is in the text editor Sublime. If anybody cares, some people are always curious what text editor. Wow, Enrique's here. Oh my God, everybody's here. Hi, Enrique. Congratulations. Enrique, NewbieDM here, is going to the big event. What is it called? The crazy new LA event where they're going to announce the new storyline. Which is happening, I guess, on my birthday. Yeah, D&D Live, but there's another name for it. Descent. The Descent, that's what it's called, yes. That's very cool. I expect live tweeting continually during the event. So yeah, May 17th, I'll get to find out what the new storyline is. I have a theory. I'm pretty confident, really, and I don't have any inside information. I don't have any inside information at all, but I really think it's going to be a Planescape kind of thing. I expect. I don't know. I don't want to be too precise, but I bet it's some kind of Planescape sort of thing because they just did another talk. And NewbieDM is taking his Planescape 2e box set just in case. And Robert Adducci also has no insider info, but tends to agree. I think that this is one where all the little signs, for those of us who spend like 95% of our time thinking about D&D, including our sleeping hours, there have been lots of little signs. And many of the signs, I would say, and this has happened before too, if you listen to the topics that come up and as lore you should know, I should do a data analysis on this. This would be fun. How many episodes of lore you should know tend to indicate what the next season is going to be? So when they talk about Sahuagin and they talk about, underwater stuff, and then all of a sudden there's a secret of Saltmarsh adventure, or if they're talking about giants or the Ordning, is there going to be something like that? Or if they talk about Cholt, is there something about that? I have a feeling that they have also been indicating that, if you look at what they've been talking about on Lore You Should Know, this is D&D's official podcast. There's a section called Lore You Should Know where like Chris Perkins talks about lore. And like the last one, he just talked about the Lady of Pain, right? So the Lady of Pain was discussed, and they've had numerous episodes talking about the Nine Hells. They've had numerous episodes talking about the Blood War. They've talked about, I think they had one about Sigil. I think they talked about Sigil. So I have a feeling that they, it's one of these where like, if all the data tends to point in a certain direction and it's kind of a boring answer, then it's probably correct. And I don't think it's boring. Like I think Planescape is going to be badass, but I don't think it's if somebody predicts it, other people are tending to go, yeah, that sounds about right. More so than, no, that's crazy. So like somebody's like, oh, it's going to be Spelljammer. It's like, I don't think so. Lore You Should Know is the good source of hints. Yeah. So yeah, I think so. And NewbieDM, I think the big names have been working on the Descent, and I think the Descent will be huge. Yeah, right. So NewbieDM has noticed that they've had a lot of freelancers working on a lot of the previous products, and that might be because their internal team has been working on this next thing. So we'll see. That would make sense. I was just listening to Wolfgang Bauer and Steve Winter talking about Saltmarsh, so that's gonna be cool. We're gonna play. I'm gonna run Saltmarsh. I like it. Look at this. Hey, Navy DM. Hey, newbie DM. Hey, Navy. You guys crack me up. You too. All right. So yeah, and so I'm running Saltmarsh. I am actually getting the Beat on Grim set, and I'm going to be running that for probably 2 groups. So I hope it's good, and I think it's as good as the Adventures. And Navy DM and Newbie DM, I bet the 2 of you have looked deeply into the Saltmarsh Adventures. On their own, just from what you've read of the old ones, are they pretty playable? Does this look like it'll be a good, solid campaign? Navy DM Mike's chat is a creator gathering most of the time. Why is that considered? Hold message, profanity. Newbie DM's, yeah, that's crazy. So Newbie DM says yes. So I'm hoping it'll be a nice, solid campaign. I'll tell you another one. And I'm totally like, hey, we're here to talk about Prince of the Apocalypse, but let's talk about everything else. I'm going to pitch something else. And granted, they gave me a preview copy of this. Let's open a new window. So there is a new publishing house on the right in the hobby these days. The publishing house is called Arcanum Rising. I think. Is that correct? Arcanum Worlds? No. Well, Odyssey. Hang on. Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. Odyssey of the Dragon... Yeah, Arcanum Worlds is the name of the publishing house. And where is the Odyssey of the Dragon Lords Kickstarter? Let me drop back to this. So these guys, they are 2 of the... That's weird. There are 2 guys that both worked on the, let's see. I'll actually pull it up here. I'm not going to, sorry. 5e material, date modified, Heroes of Baldur's Gate. The new window. Just want to get a nice picture of the cover. And I'll flash some of the art too, because the art's crazy. So these are two guys that both worked on, they're both with, I think they're with BioWare, right? Do I have that right? So two of the guys that worked on, they worked for BioWare. So they worked on Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect, some major computer RPGs. And they put out two products, Black Isle, NewbieDM. So, and I've played through both Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 as well. So they are writing RPG products. And I saw their press releases a while ago, and all I remember was like, wow, I'm screwed. Right? Like, as soon as guys like this show up and start doing independent publishing, and they're doing it with the quality level that they've got, like, well, I guess I could pack up my world because I'm done, right? Like, I can't keep up. And holy cow. Well, and we're not all competing. And frankly, books like this, people will buy. It's not like they only buy one. So somebody will still buy my smaller pieces. But anyway, they're fans of Lazy Dungeon Master. And so I chatted with them on email, and they sent me a physical copy of Heroes of Baldur's Gate. So this is a book that they put out on the DMs Guild. It is 120 pages. Yeah, it's 100 and... Do I have this right? How long is this book? I'm going to go all the way to the end and find out. 160-page book. So it's a great big book. It's a hardcover book. It's also PDF. You can buy it in both. As you can see, they really hung on to the style of D&D, of the D&D products. And when you hold it next to like a D&D book, it looks an awful lot like a D&D book, like something Wizards would put out. The quality is crazy. The artwork is amazing. There's one piece that of Severick. Look at that picture of Severick here. So their art is just off the charts, really amazing stuff. And I started reading it last night. I've been reading the intro to it. So what is it? It is this is actually very similar to the format of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It is a short 1 to 6 level adventure that takes place in and around Baldur's Gate, including the outskirts of Baldur's Gate. And as well as a book that describes a lot about Baldur's Gate. So just like Waterdeep Dragon Heist was like half heist adventure. I don't want to step in that. Half adventure and then half Waterdeep source book. This one is very similar for Baldur's Gate as well. And I don't know that this was coordinated at all with WotC, so I don't know if it's like... I doubt WotC was planning on doing a big Baldur's Gate book anytime soon. But boy, it's hard to beat like the two people that worked on the computer RPG saying, we're going to do a Baldur's Gate book. And it's set. One really cool thing about this is just like the table of contents, and you can kind of get an idea of everything that's in here. One really interesting thing about this is that it is set in 1368. It is not set in post-Spell Plague. So the adventure itself is actually taking place right around I think it's right after Baldur's Gate 1. And so that is really interesting. And that brings up something that I hadn't really thought of. I don't know why I haven't thought of this, but it's like I know there was some adventures that did some time travel stuff. I think some of the Season 8 adventures had some time travel components where you sort of went back into the history of Waterdeep. But rather than doing time travel-y sort of stuff, you can just set entire campaign worlds in different parts of Forgotten Realms at different times. So you can say, like, let's go way back to like 500 before, a lot of these places even existed. You could pick like moments of history and write moments of history. And people on the DMs Guild, I think that's fully allowed. I don't think there's any limitation on saying, I'm going to write about the fall of Netheril, right? Or I'm going to write about, pick these crazy time periods. So now think about this extra dimension you have of like, well, I can write about different areas of the Forgotten Realms, but now you can also write about different time periods. There's essentially no limit on the kind of stories you want to tell. So anyway, I think it's 20 pages or $20 for the PDF, and it's worth it. It's a great big, meaty, well-designed, well-edited, play-tested 1 to 6 adventure, beautiful maps, really cool looking, cool maps that actually kind of hark back to like the maps I remember seeing in the computer game. So I don't think they are the maps in the computer game. Beautiful, like really well put together stuff here. So I highly recommend it. And again, I'm biased because they're nice people and they sent me a press kit with a lot of cool stuff, including a hardcover version of Heroes of Baldur's Gate. And they also sent me the printed version of the player's guide for their current Kickstarter, which is called Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. This is a Greek mythology / dragon thing. Obviously, $225,000, 4,000 backers. They are doing very well on their Kickstarter, and I think the quality of what they're putting out shows. And the one thing, whenever I see a Kickstarter like this, I have a very good success rate on backing Kickstarters. The average, if you were to, when you have no other information, the amount of Kickstarters that actually deliver their reward is 90%, and about 10% fail. My ratio on success to failure is like around 3%, 2 or 3%. I've only had a couple of them that failed. And part of the reason is I'm pretty skeptical. Like when a Kickstarter comes out, I got to know, like, did they do this before? Have they done something like this before? So I hadn't seen these guys do anything yet. I see that the art is there. It certainly looks good. The money's there. Like it seems like a good thing, but you never know. Like, yeah, but are they flakes? Like it could be hard. Like I know how hard it is to make books like this. I know how hard it is to make books that aren't even close to this level of quality, and it's tough. Like the end, crossing the finish line is hard. But they obviously have their page layout stuff done. They obviously knew their art. And then I saw the Baldur's Gate book, and I'm like, okay, well, hell, if they did if they did the Baldur's Gate book, and that's that quality level, well, now they have now they did back it. So I think I went from like backing at the PDF level to backing at the hardcover level, because it looks really good. And so really, really strong. It's a really strong Kickstarter, considering it's like I think this is their first. I think this is their first one out, right? Where does it say normally? Yeah, first created. So this is their first Kickstarter that they've ever done. Anyway, I'm impressed, and this looks really. So the player's guide for this is also available. I think you can download it here. You can get it free for Drive-Thru RPG. 32-page player's guide. They sent me a physical copy of that as well, and I read through that, and it is gorgeous and really cool. So they got really neat. Really neat stuff. So again, two guys. Hang on, I gotta clear my throat. I hope I muted. If not, sorry. So two guys putting this together. They obviously have, a team of other people that are kind of working on why is this? I guess I shrunk my window. Anyway, I'm impressed. The Kickstarter, so I did the $54, which includes, $54 for all the PDFs plus a hardcover book. That's a pretty good deal. It's hard to get hardcover books for that. I guess so $25 gets you the 2 PDFs they know they're going to do plus all the stretch goals. So that's pretty good. $25 is pretty good. Anyway, really impressed. I'm still not talking about Prince of the Apocalypse, am I? Let's see. I have been ignoring the chat. Let's see. I'm going to be running a campaign of this on Twitch. Oh, the Baldur's Gate. Let's go way back. So Baldur's Gate. I've played through Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 100 times. 100 times? That's like thousands of hours. And so, what's his name? Olhan, the writing and design, James Olhan, is now working for a Wizards of the Coast office that is doing a non-WotC, non-Magic, non-D&D studio. So that might be an in-house gaming studio. I don't know. It's kind of funny that there really aren't any 5th edition RPGs available, right? Like, they're doing all the 1st and 2nd edition RPGs, but no 5th edition. Anyway, that's neat. A lot of cool background tie-ins. NewbieDM says, that book interests me a lot. Buy it, Enrique. It is worth buying, and it's worth reading, and it's very, very good. Heading a new video game studio. Who knows what it'll be? Probably an RPG. Did they work on the Dragon Age series too? Some of the earlier Dragon Age games? Because those are pretty crazy. 5th edition, 2nd edition era. Box source, BioWare. Jeez. I need this Baldur's Gate to make a Horde of the Dragon Queen easier. It's supposed to help a little bit. Sin Corbell says the Baldur's Gate to make Horde of the Dragon Queen easier because it's set in a different time, and it's not a huge study of Baldur's Gate. I don't think it's got quite as much as like the Enchiridion did for Waterdeep. It's still built around the things that are going on in the adventure. So I don't know that it will help too much. There's a couple of Baldur's Gate products that I think help a lot. And I don't know, like, I think if you had Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, that's probably more a helpful product for Hoard of the Dragon Queen. Robert says that he stopped backing D&D settings, adventures, and physical copies. Too many. I almost always do the PDFs, and then I fail miserably and buy hardcovers too. But yeah, I tend to do, I mean, I buy everything, but almost everything I buy is a PDF, and then only occasionally, like, it has to be a really, generally speaking, I got to look at it and go, that's something I'm going to run. If it's something I'm going to play at the table, I'll go ahead and get the physical copy. So, like, there's quite a few. Or the Dragon Queen, Sword Coast Legends tanked, yeah. Just reading more chats. Anyway, okay, let's talk about Prince of the Apocalypse. So, because I am running a game today. So, and it's a game that I haven't played in a long time, and all that stuff. So let me switch over to my chat window. Sublime. So, in this game, one thing I've been doing is I've been trying the Mike Merle's level every session, and particularly been doing it because our sessions are usually about 4 hours. So they're, normal, kind of the normal length, but a decent side. Yeah, well, that concludes my Prince of the Apocalypse game. Talking about Baldur's Gate. Not quite. Hang on, I'm going to drink my coffee. Man, still hot. Oof. So, sorry for drinking on camera. That's a casual show. So my Prince of the Apocalypse game, I've been leveling them every session. I don't remember what level they are. 7 or so? 7 or 8 now? I don't know. I'll find out. Kind of tells you how much I pay attention to, like, leveling and everything else. And the way the Princes of the Apocalypse works out is that the game does evolve. Like, which one of the princes, which one of the prophets you go after changes what the other prophets do. I've been escalating that. So the example is they went after the water prophet and they killed the water prophet. And when they came out, the earth cult had blown up one of the water cities. Like, they immediately used a devastation orb to blow up a city nearby. And then the party's like, wow, we really ought to take care of those earth people. So they headed up to the monastery. They knew that the earth people were at the monastery. And they basically just, like, steamrolled the front doors of the monastery because they're pretty powerful. And now they went down into the tunnels below the monastery. Let me pull that up here. So many windows. So they are... Let's look at the Temple of Black Earth. Oh, so sorry. So they went to Sacred Stone Monastery. And they fought everybody. Let's open up this in a new tab here. So they fought everybody in the front doors. They broke their way in. They saw that the monastery people had locked off. They were, like, examining all these doors, and they saw that somebody had locked off this area. So they instead went down the stairs by M11. So they avoided M16, which is kind of an interesting area because there's a lich there, like a possible friendly lich. I remember when my other group met the lich, they said, "Wow, that is the friendliest, most helpful villain we have ever had," because they, like, walked out festooned with magic items, and, like, they were like, we thought we were all gonna die, and then we walked out and we had, like, a magic ring and we had, like, a wand and all this stuff. So that's pretty funny. So they went down the steps by M11, which take them down here, and then they went into room M18 and they faced an ogre, and they convinced the ogre that some craziness was going on. And I can't remember if they left. I've got to read on M21. Hall of Thirsting Stone. I don't think they got here. None of us are going to remember. So I'm going to ask them if they had started, because maybe they got an M20. I don't know. This is the problem when you only run it. The Haunted Crypt. I don't think they went into the Haunted Crypt. No, because I'd have remembered all this stuff. And they're going to need that Ring of Fire resistance. So I think that I'm going to start them off in M18. Ogre will have run. They got 2 doors. M19. Yeah, so this has more of the delegates, those missing delegates, which is the crazy story. And the only thing that's worked with the delegates is that they're all related to one of the characters in my game. Yeah, I don't think they've actually seen this area. So they can kind of clear out the rest of this, the mines and everything. I'm going to mostly ignore that. And then you get to M24, which is the Grand Stair. So you're going to do a lot of dungeon delving in this one. And the Grand Stair leads to Tier Basel, ends the mines. And that is the Temple of Black Earth. So this is a big place. Let's open the version of this. So where do they start in here? So this whole session may be, yeah, so here's the Grand Stair, I think. Or does that go deeper? That might even go deeper. Where does it start? I bet it said in the text, didn't it? It doesn't say. This is what happens when you skim read an adventure instead of reading it. It's always worth reading. I read it, but it was like a million years ago. I don't remember anything. Is B17 the Grand Stair? Let me just look it up. Okay, so that's the staircase that leads down to the Fane of the Eye. That goes all the way down. So, I'm planning on running this that they just crawl through the dungeon and face the things that they face here. And the only difference is that while the Earth Cultist is getting further along now that the Water Cultist is gone. So the Prophet is down in the Black Earth Temple and is, attempting to call Ogremok from the depth. And however, they will stop him. But if they stop him, the Fire Cult is going to, because the Water Cult, so the Earth Cult got stronger. All the cults get stronger as one of them is destroyed. The Water Cult got destroyed. Then they went after Earth, who was making progress. But with the Earth Cult, with the Water Cult destroyed, the Fire Cult is actually doing really well. And they build a Devastation Orb, and they blow up the Air Cult. So what I'm going to do is essentially, for this campaign, I don't know, So one little tricky bit is that two of the players that are in this game are both having twins. There are a couple, and they're having twins. And when they have twins, I don't know that we're going to see them for some time. I don't know if we're going to be able to play. Maybe we'll be able to play online or something like that. I'll have to try it. But I don't know that I'm going to have a lot of time to finish the campaign. So I'm going to just essentially destroy one of the Air Cult is just going to get blown up, period. Like they're just going to fail and lose. And then when they face the Fire Cult will have already destroyed the Air Cult. They will have destroyed the Earth and Water Cult. And then the Fire Cult is going to be like burning the countryside. So, what's kind of neat is like the decisions that they made about which cults they went after are sort of result in like which cult is getting stronger in the end. And then in the end, they're probably I'm going to have them face Imix, because why not, right? How hard can Imix be? Let's find out. Imix is only CR19. Nothing. Does 1836, is that right? 36 points of damage on a hit, two attacks, flame blasts. Pretty great. Summons fire elementals, heat waves, combustions. That'd be pretty cool. That's a good fight. So I think the idea that Imix is burning the countryside will be a fun conclusion to this game. And they'll be, again, like they're leveling every session. So maybe we have a couple sessions here, 3, 4 sessions. So that'll probably be 12th, 13th level. And at that point, they could take on Imix. That'll work. So, Navy, let's see. Conclusion, we're leveling fast, not quite every session, and James Intercastle's Demon Play game, and it's been fun. I find leveling every session too fast, but for any regular game, I can see the appeal. My DM did the healing variant rule for princes. We never got through a single temple because of their size. He went full Trogdor. I don't know what that means. Always take out the fire first. Jeez, yeah. Burnimate those peasants. So, yeah, so I think most of this session is going to be them crawling through this temple. And then at the end of it, what happened? So, okay, they killed... Yeah, so now they're going to not find the boss because the boss is going to be one level lower. Well, they won't find the boss in the Black Earth Temple. He will have gone down... I can't remember how I'm going to play this out. Like, there's a lot of dungeons. So B17 takes him all the way down. Where does the stupid staircase go? This is hard. D&D is hard. Prepping D&D is hard. Sacred Stone Monastery. So we were talking about M24. Ancient stair leads to the ruins of T.R. Bassel, exiting the Sacred Stone. Helen, Ray, and Jeff have keys to the... Oh, there's a gate, right? So Helen, Ray, and Jeff, the stairs descend about 250 feet before reaching the Black Temple, the Temple of Black Earth. See Area 4, Chapter 4. Any dwarf recognizes the steps as dwarven stonework, thousands of years old. So it doesn't say where it shows up. That's handy. Thank you for that. Temple of Black Earth. Temple of Black Earth lies at the bottom of an ancient stair, a series of descending passageways beneath the Sacred Stone. The stairs end at a passageway to the north of Area B1. It leads up to M24. Okay, there. Thank you. So they start here. They're going to start at B1. They come down the stairs. They come down this hall. So one thing is I'm going to run it relatively fast, which means I don't think... we run Theater of the Mind for this. One of my players is blind, so we run Theater of the Mind for all of this. And but I'm also going to probably pull a lot of the encounters, or... let them steamroll through encounters because I don't want them to take forever crawling through this place. And there's a lot of rooms, right? Like this place is 24 rooms. So I'll cut off the dead ends. You know, like there's a lot of like weird passageways that lead off. So I'll cut off some of those dead ends. I almost did Princes with my new group, but ended up going with Ghost of Dragonspear Castle and Scourge of the Sword Coast. Yeah, I did that. I ran when we were playtesting D&D Next, I ran Ghost of Dragonspear Castle and the Scourge of the Sword Coast adventures, and that was it. Yeah, this one is just packed full of dungeons. But that, I don't know. Like I don't really worry about too many dungeons unless a group has done a whole campaign full of dungeons, in which case it's really boring. I mean, in this one, I can always just put the boss earlier and shut off a place. So if I don't want them to go down, down deep into the, I can just seal off this passageway here, and or show that they collapsed it behind them or something. So let's see. I'm going to assume the boss fight is at the end, right? The Earth Prophet's Sanctum is B22. Marlos Erlen Ray, right, is the one that they're... Oh, here it is. The Shrine of Bleeding Stone. So I can always have him here. Ooh. So where is Marlos? Here he is. Yeah, so he could be at the Screaming Statues. Or he could have gone down to the Black Geode. So one way to, depending on how cool the fire ones are, let's look at the Black Geode. So one thing is, like, they could do a huge dungeon delve down here, but then what happens is when they leave here, and they'll be higher level by the time they get out of this place, we will skip the fire cult place completely, and they will go outside, and there's Imrith. There's Imix, right? Like, so then much of the adventure after they get through this dungeon, and that's one path. Like, instead of having them spend, 2 or 3 sessions crawling through basically 3 big dungeon layers, they could instead crawl through the 3. They could crawl through these 3 layers, and then the rest of the adventure is them stopping the fire cult up on the surface, because like they'll be down here a long time, rather than them having to go deal with each of the having to go through another 3 dungeon layers before. But there is isn't there a central... It's the Fane of the Eye. Is this a connector? Yeah, I think this is the connector, right? And like you go here to get to the bottom one. I don't know. It's tricky to run. I gotta make some choices. And I got 20 minutes to make them. So like F11. Yeah, so you go to the Temple of Black Earth, takes you here to this place, right? And then how do you get from there to the geode? I get confused, right? Because I think that the Fane of the Eye, I think, is essentially 8 doorways, right? If I recall. But maybe I'm on crack. Maybe I never knew how this adventure actually works. It's a good possibility. People in Twitch chat, do you know that the Fane of the Eye is sort of a subway station that takes you from each of the places? Each complex in the ruins of Tierra Basel offers access to the Fane. Below the Fane are the 4 elemental nodes from which the cults draw their power. Yeah, so each of these has... So like F1 is the Worm Stair, takes you to the Temple of Vertical Shaft. The Howling Pit goes to the Howling Caves, which is the air node, right? This stair ascends to B17, the Temple of Black Earth. Ooh, a Dwarven Thrower Hammer. It's a lot of stuff. They're the big dungeons. And then F13 goes down to the Black Geode. F13. Okay, so... Doesn't look like it does it? Where does that descend? I don't see any descent there. But if they say so. Maybe down here, that passageway to the right goes down to the elemental node. So the elemental nodes are close by. It's really interesting how they could sort of crawl through this. The structure of this dungeon is really pretty wild. Because you have 4 big bases up top. They lead to elemental temples, which leads to the Fane of the Eye, which then leads back out to the 4 geodes. So you have 4 layers of dungeons with 4 different layers. Top, temples, Fane, and the other one. And then 4, 8, 12. So it's 13 total places to explore. It is a great big dungeon. Like it feels almost like as big as, we think about Undermountain. It is very Undermountain-like. So I don't know. I might have to feel them out on like how I should have done that last time. All right, but let's look at the characters. I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm probably going to dive out a little early too. Go spend more time reading. So Koo-rig, Dwarf cleric. He's the one that's his cousin Maxwell was kidnapped along with the Mirabarian delegation. Koo-rig is a dwarf cleric. Hesira, tiefling rogue, is fiery. Toured with Ganthelgrom, the bard. Once owned the dagger that became a spearhead of air and has a circular blasting and a magic dagger. Ganthelgrom, cloud singer, is a Goliath bard. Wants to destroy the evils of Earth, and he thinks fire is stupid. A friend of his joined the cult of Earth. Wand of magic. He has a wand of magic missiles. Granite is an Earth Genasi fighter, member of the Foreign Legion of Mirabar, +1 glaive that casts Shatter once a day. And Celeste, a dwarf barbarian, Mirabarian dwarf, nephew of Uncle Folgers, cousin of Maxwell. They all have names after coffee. Koo-rig, Maxwell, Folgers. Strong start, Earthquake. Marlos is close to awakening Ogremok. I guess this is secrets. So we're just going to say Earthquake. Secrets and clues. Marlos is close to Marlos is close to releasing Ogremok. Many layers. This is how prep works. You just write. You just write fast. What else? What other secrets do we have? I don't know. So I guess the question is like, here's a good question, right? Like, how much do I want to guide their activities? Like, do I really want them crawling through 60 rooms worth of dungeons over the next couple of sessions? Or will the players be happy with that? I don't, I don't think they'll mind that much. Like, is it really that much less interesting? There's plenty of roleplay opportunities. There's plenty of exploration to go on. So I think I might just run it as is and see how it goes. Maybe I'll steer it as I'm playing it, but like based on what I see. But the idea that they're sort of, I remember somebody brought up today, was talking about Skyrim, and I forget the name of there's like a huge underground city in Skyrim, and you don't even realize you're going there. You think you're just going through a tunnel, and next thing you know, you're like, holy cow, I'm in this fast city, and you've been down there forever, and you're dumping loot everywhere because you can't carry it all. And Black Black Skulls or Black Reach or something. Black Reach? I don't know, something like that. And the idea that it just keeps going on and on and on and you don't know where it's going, it was both terrifying and interesting and frustrating all at the same time. And I think that could be the case with this, that like realizing like, holy cow, these things are all interconnected. Like, what is going on? And maybe they can even navigate their way to other areas of the temple, not by going above, but by going below. Could be really interesting. Who's the name of the fire? The fire prophet. What other interesting secrets are there? Kafka says Black Reach, yeah. NavyDM says this is how the last season of Lost was come up with, yeah. Oh, I don't plan on doing this in one session. I don't expect that they're going to finish this whole game today. I think it's probably going to take 3 or 4 sessions before the end of this. But I'm planning on running, 3 or 4 sessions. We'll see if we get there, because I think we might have 2 or 3 sessions after this. So, and because they're leveling so quick, they'll be able to tear through things much faster. Robert says he did Tales of the Island Portal for his patrons, and that was plenty of dungeons. Robert, I thought it was very interesting how you set up your patron as a way to run games for people. I thought that was an interesting way to use Patreon. So many interesting ways to kind of use that model, this sort of backer and patron model. And I think the idea of like, I'll run games for you, if you're a patron at a certain level, I think that's a pretty interesting way to do it. I chickened out. I went with and I have a patron, by the way. Hey, if you are enjoying the Sly Flourish Empire, you enjoy the stuff that's coming out of here, and you want sneak previews of things that are coming in the future, including there's already a playtest for a new thing that I'm doing up on my Patreon page for those who are backers of my Patreon. Mostly you will get a monthly newsletter of kind of what is going on in the community and sort of, what caught my attention over the past month. So sort of a monthly newsletter. But now, particularly right now, you're going to see some art from new stuff that is coming out. You'll get sneak previews and playtest opportunities for things that are coming out. So if you're interested, I only have one patron level. It's $2 a month, and that gets you, first of all, what that really gets you is supporting the Sly Flourish Empire, bandwidth and equipment and all of the other things that, expenses that are required to kind of keep this whole thing up and running. The patron helps pay for that. And, keeping the Sly Flourish, just all the rest of the Sly Flourish gears working. And it takes the burden off of the products, the books that I put out every year. It takes the burden off of those books to then pay for the rest of the stuff. So that's kind of my goal for the patron. NavyDM says, I hope you called in it the Sly Flourish Empire. I do call it the Sly Flourish Empire. I call the patrons super fans because my assumption, my expectation is like, you should not back the patron if you think you're going to get awesome stuff just by backing the patron. You should back the patron if you like what you're seeing in Sly Flourish overall. All the other stuff I do. However, if you are there, you will get sort of an inside newsletter of like, thank you. Robert just posted my patron link. I should have done that. It's also in the links on Twitch down below, and it's on my YouTube videos if you're watching this on YouTube. So it's really a way for you to kind of give back to Sly Flourish if you feel like you've gotten, if you get $2 a month worth of entertainment out of the stuff that I do on Twitter and on my blog and here on these videos. This is a way for you to give back. And but people that do back also get a monthly. I don't want to flood and I talked about this on a previous episode. I don't want to flood people with a lot of email, so I'm going to do like a monthly newsletter. What I do now is anytime I see something that's interesting, I throw it in a text file, and then at the beginning of the month, I don't know exactly what day, maybe Friday, I'm not sure. Sometime in the beginning of the month, I will put together a newsletter of, hey, here's sort of all the things going on in Sly Flourish land. Here are the things that I posted to the website. Here are like the top tweets that got people's attention that I posted. Here are other kind of interesting topics that have occurred and things that I recommend and stuff like that. So it's just like a Sly Flourish newsletter. But you know, the other thing that that people will get and have already gotten, for example, is a playtesting of new stuff that I'm putting out probably in June. So the Patreon backers of Sly Flourish, the Sly Flourish Empire, will get more previews of things that I'm going to be putting out later in the year. So that's kind of cool too. So thank you for backing. But yeah, Robert, I saw yours. I was like, wow, that's kind of a really creative way to use Patreon. Like, you know, a way to sort of, you know, there's lots of questions. I don't mean to bring up the topic here, and there might be people that are hot about it one way or the other, but what the hell? It's the last 5 minutes. Everyone's gone. There's lots of topics about like paying for DMing. Like, is it worth it? And my opinion is like, I don't know why it's not, right? Like everything's, you know, effort, everything takes effort. So I think I don't have a lot. I don't support people who are not DMs who say DMing should be free. You know, if DMs say DMing should be free, okay, that's your choice. I don't charge for DMing. But I'm running for two particular groups. Like, I'm not opening myself up and saying, hey, I will run games for anybody for free, right? And it takes a lot of effort to put a game together. And for people like Robert, who are really skilled at this project, like at this particular skill, really skilled at this hobby, it's valuable, right? And if it's valuable, then it's valuable. It's been good. It was more popular when I was an AL admin, and it has died down a bit, but it's good to run. I run 2 ongoing games and several one-shots a month. Yeah. So add permitted term AL. I love that AL was different. So I think it's a valuable skill, and I certainly don't hold that against anybody for charging for it or for coming up with a way to get compensation for DMing, particularly if you're running games, you know, running games for people you don't really know, right? Like, if you think about it, AL DMs get paid in things other than cash when they're running their games at conventions and stuff like that. They get rooms, they get you know, they get to play the game for free. They get, you know, the room to play it in. There's lots of perks. They get a lot of swag. So it's not cash, right? But it's they get paid other ways. And you know, it takes time. This is hard work putting together a game. You see it. Like, I can't even come up with these 4 last secrets. So even if you're quick to prep, it's a big time sink. So and it's not just that, it's also a lot of effort, because a lot of us do it because we love doing it too. But, you know, just because we love doing something doesn't mean it's not effort. I love computer programming, and I get paid to do computer programming. So, you know, why shouldn't other people get paid? So there's a lot, like we see it on Twitter a lot too. Like, people will post the, you know, bottom feeder, you know, sludge at the bottom of the social ladder of people who are like, I don't know why I should pay for art. You love what you're doing. I should get it for free. And you're like, so, you know, it's a creative endeavor to run a D&D game. And I think it's worth, some cultures call that Reddit. Yeah. Reddit, you know, I don't know how I feel about Reddit. I know people bash Reddit a lot, and there's many areas of Reddit that are deserving of bashing. And I think that Reddit could do a better job of managing their communities. There's a lot of good stuff on Reddit too. You know, some of the communities there, the D&D Next community on Reddit seems to be pretty straight. You know, there's a lot of jerks on Facebook too. It's just like the rest of the internet, I guess. Yeah, they could do better. Just like Twitter and Facebook, Reddit, they could all do a better job of doing of managing their world better, but they're afraid of cutting people off. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But the point is, yeah, I my feeling is that it is worth the activity. And I thought, you know, when I saw how Robert was doing that, I thought that was a pretty creative way of having a system and having a mechanism, having a method of bringing customers to a product, right? Like, or bringing customers to a service, right? You want people want DMs to run games, right? They've said forever that DMs are the limiting factor for D&D. Getting DMs are the limiting factor. So for those people who have really spent the time and energy and mental energy to do it, You know, I wouldn't be opposed to it myself, except that I have a whole other job and my time is already called for. You know, but it's pretty neat, and I imagine it's really hard. Like you know, I imagine the stress of running a game for people you don't really know that have then paid for the service. You know, you're really going to put in the extra mile on that. I met another guy who's a professional dungeon master at Winter Fantasy. God, I forget his name. I have his business card somewhere. He's a really neat guy, really charismatic, you know, clearly performer type. And, you know, I just imagine like there's some extra stress in that. Like, it's one thing when I go and I run a game at the local game shop for my friends, they're not paying, you know, and so I can dork around. I think I'd be a lot more, you know, I'd be more strenuous if, yeah, right. Like, it's pretty cool. I feel, so Robert says it's pretty cool, but it's stressful, especially when things are hectic at home and I don't feel well. Yeah, right. Like, you know, I can see that it becomes an issue. NewbieDM says, I worry about my passion becoming my job. Well, I don't know. I now feel like I have a second job. Like, the Sly Flourish Empire is doing well enough that you know, it's a business. I have business expenses. I have a, you know, sole proprietorship. I've got an EIN. So, it's kind of like a second job, but you know, I love it. And I can't ever see stopping doing it. The hard part is like figuring out where not to waste my time. Like, I always feel like my time now, 100% of my time is called for. And I want to make sure that I'm putting my time where it's getting the most value for the things that I want to do. Sometimes that's sit down and watch Game of Thrones, right? Like, that's important. So it's not like I don't have time to relax. I'm not filling it all with non-relaxing time. But I do feel like I get involved. I did yesterday, right? I get hugely involved in discussions about Adventures League. It's like, am I really helping here? You know, like, it's interesting, and I guess I'll have a point, but I really, you know, I should leave that to guys like NewbieDM who are deeply involved in organized play. So, you know, should I do that or should I write? And what I did is, like, it was actually kind of funny. So yesterday I got a Sly Flourish article ready for publication on Monday. And I edited one of the chapters of the new thing that I'm putting out. And when I was done with that, I said, okay, now I'm done with my work. Now I can go have fun arguing about Adventures League on Twitter. And that was like my reward for the work that I did. So it was kind of funny. An outsider's perspective would be helpful to AL. I don't consider myself that much of an outsider either, right? Like, I play AL. I just play at conventions, you know? But, like, I read a lot. This is kind of my point. And, oh, my God, it's already 11 o'clock, so I'm going to have to make it quick. My main point was, like, I don't know what the hell's going on, right? Like, I spend so much time reading and talking to people about D&D and thinking about D&D and writing for D&D. You know, I've been doing this a long time. And then I was talking to Teo Sabadia, Alpha Stream, right? Another guy who's been doing this a long time, really involved in organized play, many organized play programs, you know, did a whole lot of stuff, right? And he and I are talking about it, and we can't agree what the article said. It's like, it's so common. You know, his thought was, you're not allowed to bring a season 9 character. You can't bring older characters into season 9. And I was like, I think you can. You just don't get any loot. Or you don't get to unlock loot. And he's like, no. So it was like the two of us couldn't figure out what they were saying, right? That's pretty bad. When two people who have as much invested in this hobby as we do can't figure out exactly what they're saying, it's too complicated. So, you know, I don't know. But we argued back and forth about it. And his point was like, dude, you know, AL is really a good thing for the community. NewbieDM says it's the latter. Yeah, I think he found out that I was right. That you can move characters back and forth between seasons. You just don't unlock story rewards or loot. So, yeah, and I have a feeling, getting back to like what we think the next season is going to be. When you bring Planescape into the mix, well, now it's really hard to say like, wow, why the hell is my character from Horde of the Dragon Queen in Planescape? So, you know, I think that they've done this before. They did this with season 8 as well. They're putting kind of things out there to get everybody to start, you know, this is the reaction. And they get the reaction out now instead of in September when season 9 is happening. Everybody's sort of into it and aware of it. But boy, my you know, and I don't know, I want to end with this. I'll end with something else. But my general feeling of this is like, oh my God, you know, like we don't need more rules. Like I like the idea of seasonal cutoffs, you know, like I told Teos, like the funny thing is everybody, like not everybody, many people are very angry about this. I read 450 posts on Facebook yesterday. Most of them angry about these rule changes. There was a couple in there that were like, I kind of like it. And the funny thing is, I'm like the polar opposite. I'm like, why did you bother to let characters transfer from seasons? Why not just say season 9 is its own thing? And we expect you're going to start a new character in season 9 and you can't bring a character into season 9. Like, that's a simple rule, right? Just do a reset. And then the advantage of that is you don't need 3 paragraphs to explain things to people, right? Just say like, we're breaking things up and everything's a little enclave now, and let characters start over again. Native DM says AL is a great way to find a home game. Yeah, right. That's what I did. Many of my players are AL players that play in my home game. I would love, I think like the challenge that I would give to the people doing AL is, as a DM who runs exclusively home games, make me want to run AL, right? Like what can they put in place where it's like, they were really close to being like, hey, are you running the hardcover? Then you're in AL. You don't need to do anything else. Like, that would be great. Like, give me loose, very like simple guidelines, that kind of confine what an AL, what it means for AL. And part of it could be like, if you're playing in a series of adventures with the same group, you could do whatever you want. But if your character transfers over to another game, these are the things you can bring with you. So I don't know. I think they need to get the rules really simple. And I don't think they're simple now. I think they're complicated. I think the experience point rule change was great. I think the loot rule change was pretty good, but a little weird. I think the gold system is a mess because it broke, for the reason that DM David brought up, which is the 1099 DKP. That was my little joke. I told Teos later, and I was really just trying to get his goat. I was like, now I feel like when I go to AL, I feel like I'm closing on a house. I got to have my lawyer with me. And he was like, yeah, that's not the way it is. I was like, I know, but it's funny. So I would think that the AL admins would want people like me to run AL. And the question is, how can they make me want to do it? Like, I'm running the hardcovers. I'm running Saltmarsh. So the question is, like, they should make it so easy for me to run AL that when I run Saltmarsh, I'm like, sure, it's AL. All right? I should just be able to say that and not go like, oh, well, that means I can't change the way the game works and I have to worry about loot and I have to change, how experience is done and I got to do gold a certain way and there's all these other restrictions and that if I got to remind them that if their character plays another game, they can't come back to this one. Oh, what a pain in the ass. So I think I kind of like, the idea I had, and that's totally useless. The idea I had was because nobody should pay attention to what my ideas are, but it feels to me like they could essentially say, like, if you get loot, it seems like loot is a big issue. So if you get loot from other campaigns and you go into a Monty Hall campaign over here, that's fine. When your Monty Hall character shows up in my game, I say, yeah, that's great. You're level 7, you get 1 uncommon and 1 rare item. Take it from any of the ones that you've got, but it's an uncommon and a rare, and that's what you get. Right? And they're like, okay. And then uncommon and rare, and these things are not allowed. I.e., you can't have I don't even know if it's rare, but you don't get a Shield Guardian, So it feels like the restriction should be when a character shows up at my game. When a character shows up at my game, that is when, you can bound the rule set so that, your character in a home game, you can play your character in a home game all you want. I mean, I'll give you a hint. I got players at my game who treat it like AL and treat their characters like AL characters, even though it's not an AL game, because they're like, it's close enough, right? Like they're not, they know the boundaries of the rules of the character. So they just restrict the stuff that they do. They only take the gold that they're, they're building essentially an AL character because they're like, look, you're playing a freaking hardcover adventure. It might as well be. And I'd rather have a character that I can take to another game. Works for me. So that's the other one is like many of the experienced people I know cheat. They just don't cheat in a way. They don't cheat in a way that causes any harm. Right. So they, and I don't know. I was going to say about how I cheat. I don't think I'm ever playing a level 1 character again. I'll say that. Like I have enough DM stuff worked up where I'm just going to keep making level 2 characters. But it's like, go ahead and as long as your character doesn't show up with a Shield Guardian dual wielding Harzwands, no one cares, right? Like just keep your loot, like all my loot, like I have a +1 scimitar for my level 7 guy, and I made it super flavorful, but it's just a +1 scimitar. And I remember I had a player at a table once where I described his scimitar, and he's like, "Where did you get that from? What mod is that?" And I'm like, "I made it up." He's like, "Okay, I guess that's okay." And I was like, "Yeah, it's okay. It's a +1 scimitar, but it's got a handle that moves like tentacles, you know?" So, it's a preseason 8 character was the cheat this season. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is just restrict the magic items, right? Just put a limit. I don't know what you do about wizard spells. Anyway, who the hell cares what I think? I'm not an AL. I play at conventions. I'm playing at a convention next week. And I'm just going to dig out my characters that I'm going to play. I really don't care about the loot. Like, to me, the funny thing is I'm going to go, because I play so infrequently, I'm going to play whatever character I want in whatever season I want, if it fits the story of the character. Although I like starting new characters a lot. And I just don't care about unlocking loot. It doesn't matter to me. The loot doesn't matter. The stuff that's on the evergreen list, I can take anything from there and flavor it however I want, and it's cool. So, but of course, I'm more of a story-focused guy. I don't really care about power gaming. And I guess power gaming, I have to make the obligatory, power gaming is a legitimate play style for people if they would like to. You know, I think I have to say that, because if not, I'm a gatekeeper. But, you know, I like story-focused games. Anyway, I am 10 minutes over. I am totally unprepared for my Prince of the Apocalypse game. I instead just talked about a bunch of other stuff. I guess the interesting question is like how I'm going to tie those dungeons together. And I think the NavyDM says, "Good luck with that Prince of the Apocalypse game." I'm like, yeah, it's fine. The question is like, how do I want to structure, if I only have so many sessions of this, how do I want to structure it? Do I want them to just carve through the big dungeon, or do I want to kick them back out again? I don't know the answer to that. I think kind of diving deep into this might be pretty fun. So I don't mind the big dungeon thing. The nice thing about dungeons is the decisions tree is a lot easier. So I think I might do that. But I'm going to play a lot of it by ear. I do have like an hour before the game, so I think I am going to go and grab the hardback and drink my almost completely full coffee because it was so freaking hot. And just read through the scenes and get an idea of what I think will be cool and what may not be. And then when they show up today, I'll ask them. Like, I think we'll go through today's session, and then at the end of the session, I'll say, you know, how much are you guys enjoying the dungeon delving side? How much would you like to kind of get back out in the open? And then I can tune the game around that. So we will see. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank everybody for a great chat. Sorry about the 20-minute Adventures League talk. I'm not sorry about talking about Baldur's Gate and the other stuff in the beginning. I think all that's really cool. But obviously, this is a different kind of show. We will be on tomorrow. Wow, my voice held up for the whole hour and 10 minutes. I will be back online tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to talk about Waterdeep Dragon Heist and Fireball. So I can talk about what happened in Blue Alley, and I can talk about where we are going to go with that adventure from here on out. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow at 10, and have a great day. Thank you all in the chat, Robert and NavyDM and NewbieDM and NativeDM and everybody else who came into the chat. It's always a great pleasure to talk to you guys. So have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow morning.